Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back once again with the Renegade Master and your Dreadlock caster RedRipz right here for another game of CasualCraft. This is episode number 56 now. We've got a little bit of a special one today because basically I've been so, AFK recently. I've decided to do a quick best of 3 match that was posted to Cast It a couple of days ago. And basically we've got two, I think they're ex-Master League players. Currently, according to their league borders, it says Gold League at the moment. But I think they were Master League in Wings of Liberty. They're just getting back into the game, so decided to have a 1v1 best of 3. Now, what I'm going to do is obviously go through the games. We'll get the introductions out of the way, and we'll see what StarCraft we can have today for you now. So, the first match on Bel'Shir Vestige. Down in the bottom right hand corner, we have today's brother from another mother. Here in the red, it's the Protoss player Snake. Straight out of Metal Gear Solid. Snake! All that jazz. Yeah, you must remember Metal Gear Solid. Actually, I say must remember, it still exists as a thing, right? It's a launch title of the PS4, is it not? Or at least pretty soon. Anyway, so we're going to be having lots of Merle and other appropriate Snake jokes here. You know, see if he can get his sneaking on. Now, up in the top left-hand corner, without wasting too much more time, today's sister from another mister. It's the blue Zerg player. Looking gorgeous up here. It is Grit. Gritty. Let's see if the Grit can abrasively. I haven't prepared, I'll be honest. Okay, basically we've got Grit and Snake, two pretty good quality players, getting back into the game, so they're probably going to be a bit rusty. Obviously straight away Snake having a little scout around, seeing what's going on, going to see the second base of Grit down here at the front here. Meanwhile, obviously Snake going for the gateway first with an extractor behind it, as standard as you can possibly be right now. So Snake's going to stick down a pylon in the second base here of Grit. Now I think Grit will have straight away seen this. Yeah, the Overlord's there. He's seen that well and truly. So I don't think we're going to get a cannon rush here because there's no obviously there's no actual kind of forge down of any sort, and that's been cancelled there. Yes, he's decided against doing that. Some interesting decision making there. I'm not sure whether he was trying to get a pylon up and then hope it wasn't killed before he had developed Warp Gate or whatever, which he's actually going to be going for now as he gets the Cybernetics core down. Meanwhile, this probe from Snake is just going to take the high ground here, guard the Cell Naga Tower, make sure this Overlord is not heading too far towards him, all that usual sort of business. Now, meanwhile, up in Grit's base, he's gone for the pool just after the hatchery then. It looks like he'll be going for a quick speed here because this is quite an early extractor. It's mining really full efficiency already. So I'd imagine he's just going to go straight for the 100 gas, get out the link speed, and we'll have to wait and see what he decides to do from there. Meanwhile, our Protoss player is going to be getting a second gas down. I don't think this is going to be a warp gate build. A 4-gate build anymore. That's a bit too much gas for that. So it does look like he'll probably just be going into maybe a gateway expand or something. What we're going to see behind this Snake. What have you got for us? He's going to chrono boost out warp gate though, so it is quite important to him at this stage. Still, he's wanting that out nice and early. Meanwhile, Grit has got his second base down now, and he's looking pretty strong in that respect. He's got his economy in a good feeling. I have a feeling Elan is lagging the game. Well, Elan, you should not be lagging the game, Mr. Elan. I don't know who you might be, but lagging games is rude, bro. God damn it. So, with that in mind, we're going to be getting out the Queens here for Grit. I think you should be producing one in a second as well. Yep, absolutely. All looking very good. Having a sentry come out here at the front for Snake. He's going to be building another one as well. Warp. I like how he's chrono boosting these out. This is good. He's stopped chrono boosting the warp gate, and it looks like he's actually just going to come down and get his second base down here as this probe moves down at the low ground. And yep, there it goes. He's going to mine there for a brief second, I imagine, before we see the second base down as our Protoss player builds up the 400 minerals that he needs, and that will be coming down any second now. Any second now. Well, not anymore. He's built something. Okay, perhaps not going to have a second base yet. We've had enough of that. Going to get another pylon down at the back instead, and just generally continue supplying up. I like it. It's all good. Meanwhile, he's scouting in the enemy's base. Grit, meanwhile, is keeping that at bay with his queen. His Zergling speed's nearly finished up. He has actually completely stopped mining gas with the 100 gas that he got out of that, so I was right. He's getting a quick Zergling speed, getting the 2 bases down, and I imagine we'll be looking to take a third before too long. Unless you're going to sort of rush out, like layer tech and start rushing out early sort of mid-game units, or perhaps rushing into roaches or something like that. Usually you want to get quite an early third base, especially when you've got a Protoss going for the expansion here on the low ground now. At last, Mothership Core is going to chase these fuelings away. Not going to be too much of a problem here for Snake to deal with, as he's going to quite comfortably be able to move into his second base here without any real pressure from Grit. Now, Grit, meanwhile, getting some lings out. They've also got speed down. We're getting some drones as well. He's building 10 more lings, actually, so he's just going to be ignoring the second base, it seems, for the time being with regard to droning and just generally getting out lings. I think what he's going to do is he's going to try and push in and try and take out this second base before Snake can get any sort of solid defense up for it. And really what he needs to do is do that before the base becomes a base, if that makes sense, like before it finishes building, so that the Mothership Core can't drop down its Nexus cannon spell on the Nexus, which will do a lot of damage to lings, obviously, and obviously basically just need as much DPS against this many units just to get through them as quick as possible. So with the lings flooding in here, does look like this base, is he going to let it finish? Yes, he is actually going to let it finish. Looks like the lings might be trying to get up the ramp here, although with the force fields there comfortably and the Zealot at the front, not going to be doing too much there. They're going to have to pull back, although actually this does handily keep these units in the base out the way, had Grit intended to move out with them. So the force field causing a bit of a delay there. We're going to see this Nexus fall, and Grit nicely takes the lead there as he's comfortably ahead on bases and therefore on economy compared to his opponent now. We always see more lings flooding in. He's just generally just building lings at this stage, and Snake's actually stopped building everything altogether. 800 minerals is what he needs in his bank, another 500 gas. It's all good. We don't need to spend any of that money. We just need to stand here going shit, build get the Stargate down. Stargate. We'll get a Stargate. Fuck it. Get a Stargate. Let's go. This'll win. And that's tactics right there. So meanwhile, Grit's going for the Roach Warren behind this. I'm going to keep the camera over this little Ling assault here as we keep seeing the continuous force fields on the front ramp here. I can't see Grit actually managing to break through this just because there's basically unlimited force fields for the foreseeable future, and this Mothership Core can just sit and pick units off quite happily on top there. But essentially, if Grit can just keep the sort of his Lings around here somewhere and make sure that the Protoss player can't move out of his base, then Grit should be able to stop him getting this second base down, and actually should be able to take a third pretty safely behind it himself. Instead, actually, he's just going to charge in up the front ramp. The 4 Zealots behind aren't going to do anything. We're just going to allow the Lings to chew through these sentries at the front. Meanwhile, more Lings turning up here for Grit, and Snake slightly overestimating how much he can get out on one base by getting 2 Stargates down and not actually even starting to produce anything from the first of them yet. So some interesting decision making here, but it's all good. It's all good. He's still playing the game. He's still in it. He's actually dealing with these things quite nicely, force fielding them in like that, and just generally zapping them down with these sentries and the Mothership Core on top of that. I'm going to take a brief swig of my drink, which today is water, because basically I just drink too much caffeine and probably too much alcohol as well, actually. So yeah, healthy is the guys for the day in my Stellar Artois glass. So with that in mind, Snake's going to be getting out the two Void Rays here. Now, if you can keep the Zerg out your base, just build Void Rays and then laugh as you sort of A-move into all their stuff that doesn't shoot up, seems to be the plan here. So with 3 gateways down, he's going to have to try and move out for a second base before too long, which it does look like he's doing now. He's going to pull these troops down on the low ground, although there's such a wide choke here on the lower ground, he is going to sort of struggle to do too much more there to actually defend it, unless he can get some buildings down and get some sort of Sim City going. But he is going to put down the Nexus there. He's going to see if he can get that. Meanwhile, Grit has actually completely withdrawn. He doesn't really have anything around the map anymore. There's just sort of a few Lings at the bottom here. Everything else is going on at his base now. So if we just have a little look at Grit's base, see what he's going on with. But basically, he's got down the obviously the Roach Warren behind the spawning pool, but he hasn't built any roaches yet, and he's going for double Evo and a layer, as well as getting those 4 gases out. So he's gone for the relatively typical, you start your layer, put down your other 3 gases as soon as possible sort of timing is generally a Zerg thing. It means you've got enough gas to do stuff when the layer finishes, which you then suddenly need a lot of gas once the layer finishes, because you start getting out like your muters and your infestors and your swarm hosts and even hydras, I guess, tier 2 upgrades, all that sort of thing. You're going to need a lot of gas for it, so the extra 3 gases come in behind that. I still would like to see Grit take a third base, really. I know he's got 1200 minerals, but he could easily just drop a few of those on a third base and just move him for some sort of attack. Meanwhile, we're seeing the 3 Void Rays of Snake move around the outside here. I think he imagines that Grit probably has a third yet, and he's actually going to be quite pleasantly surprised when he realises he doesn't. And actually, Grit's going to struggle to defend this, because with 3 Void Rays, really you need more than just, well, a queen. And I mean, yeah, there's Spore Crawlers building, but like a single Spore Crawler is not going to do that much against 3 Void Rays, especially when we've got the 2 Phoenixes in here as well to just quite happily pick up the queens as they like. And that should basically be the end of any sort of defense here out of Grit. And really, Grit needs to try and get some anti-air at this point. What he needs to do here really is just try and gather his queens together and get down as many Spore Crawlers as he can, while he waits for his hydras to come out. Because, well, basically he's just not in a position to stop this at the moment. He's going for the 1-1 melee upgrade, so it does look like a general Roach Hydra composition will be the play here out of him, and he's also going to be getting the Roach speed upgrade as well there behind that. So I think, yeah, that does look like the direction he's going to be generally headed in. Spore Crawler's coming down, second base will be falling there, which does put Snake comfortably ahead, although I don't think Grit actually lost that many in the way of workers killed there. Yeah, absolutely nothing to the 2 workers that he's killed of Snakes. So with that, Snake's going to be able to keep pressuring this, and he's going to obviously be able to take down single units like this quite comfortably. We should be seeing some more Void Rays coming up before too long. Although actually it does look like Grit's going to give some counter pressure here with the Roaches here at the front. These aren't going to get very far with these quite progressive force fields. I really like that. They were quite far forward, pushed sort of the main of the units back, kept a few forward, and allowed basically his units to sit back. Although it has actually seen the last of the Zealots there as the force fields maybe slightly too far forward there. You sort of want to cut them up in this little area here and sort of push the other Roaches much further back, but it doesn't matter too much. He's got rid of a lot of the troops there, really, and at this point Snake really just needs to try and produce more troops in the hope that he can, well, just get rid of these few Roaches, because once these Roaches are out of the way, he's in a really, really good position. He's a base ahead, and even though Grit's building 2 new bases now, it's, you know, he's still effectively a base up in terms of, well, was effectively a base up when he was getting the probes out here, although actually this is gradually coming to an end now as these Roaches are doing away with this hatchery. Meanwhile, we've got the 3 Void Rays here on the second base here of Grit. They're going to be, well, one's going to be left behind to deal with that hatchery. Meanwhile, the other 2 are going to be taken up the high ground, and these Queens should, with a little bit of help of the Hydras, be able to target down one of these Void Rays. There's one here on very little shield, so with a little bit of luck maybe, and also the 1/1 upgrade is just finishing up in time, we might be able to start seeing these Void Rays fall here. Although, Grit, to be honest, it's really up to how Snake engages. If Snake can engage correctly, then there's not really that much Grit can do until he gets a lot more in the way of Hydras out. However, this expansion has fallen, and with only a single Void Ray here, these last few Roaches are still going to take a little bit of time to fall, so we might even see the end of this this warp gate at the front here. So we're both players sort of base racing a little bit, I guess. I mean, not, well, it wasn't really, well, it was, it definitely isn't now. But like they were sort of in a position where each one's just damaging each other and neither one's really defending. Interestingly enough, we've actually got the single Hydra at this extra base here. Just was very gradually taking down the a single Phoenix there, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. This base is going to fall. There's very little that Grit can do about this. Yeah, he's getting groups of Hydras together now, and we are going to start seeing the Void Rays fall, but he does need to try and keep these Hydras alive where he can, because if he doesn't, he's going to well, very quickly see the end of his bases as the Void Ray count does start to get to that that level where it's just a little bit out of control. You start getting sort of 6 or 8 Void Rays, and units just drop so quickly that there's just nothing. You can't really deal with it without just having a shit ton of units of your own. So at this stage, it's all very much to play for still. I mean, I'd say Snake is ahead. He's got his own base defended. He has the better sort of army for pushing in. He's got Grit down to 1 base again. But to be honest, Grit has actually, no, he doesn't have as much of a bank built up as he used to. He's actually less than 300 minerals now since he's built all those lings, and is continuing to build them actually as well. So actually, Grit's putting himself into a little bit of a tricky situation here, really. I mean, it's not really his own doing that he's ended up like this, but it's kind of... It just basically because of the way that he's kind of continued pressuring with these lings, not really going to get through this either against this bunch of Zealots at the front. That's just not going anywhere, especially with this the air support as well. There's really, we should be seeing the end of most of these lings. I mean, they might push through. Maybe there's just enough lings, but like they're not really going to do that much once they do. I mean, we should be able to see a pretty swift dealing with this, although actually they are just going to run through and start attacking probes. What am I talking about? Total crap, apparently. Meanwhile, we have seen the last of the pressure at the top of the map. The 2 Void Rays have been pulled back here to come and help deal with these lings, and it does look like that will be the finally seeing the end of those lings there. Perhaps taking a little bit longer than they should have done to get rid of. Although actually with Hydras moving into the front now as well, it's a little bit of a problem situation here for Snake. I mean, he's not going to lose the game yet at this stage, but he has been taking damage there, and that warp gate was ripe for the picking off there. I'm a little bit surprised Grit didn't quickly focus that down before he left, as that was obviously on 4 health, and with the shield not actually in any way, shape or form protecting it at that point. It was yeah, pretty rough times, but it's okay. Grit's getting a 4th base up now, well, I say getting a 4th base up, it's technically a 3rd. He's basically in his 4th site. He's going to be getting a base up and moving down this massive drones here, when there's got 25 drones on this base now. So what we're going to need to see is we're going to see some extractors down. He's also going to need to repopulate this base, and hopefully we should be able to save these extractors before they die, with the spreading of the creeps in this hatchery, but we will have to wait and see in that respect. Meanwhile, up at the top of the map, we've got the main base of Grit is mined out now. He's generally sort of getting spore crawlers up everywhere. He's getting his Hydralisk upgrades completed, hasn't yet started 2-2, and has a macro hatchery in his main. So generally with this sort of 3 base play, 2 mining bases thing going on for Grit here, he should be in a relatively good position, but really 3rd base would be very nice, really. If you can get 3 mining bases going, you can just produce so much at once as Zerg, and yeah, you just damage your opponent in every way, shape or form. storm. And with the Zerg, a lot of the time it's just about pummeling your opponent until they're dead. Obviously a lot of that is in the engagements and things, but a big part of it really is just overwhelming your opponent with just sheer numbers with sheer numbers of troops. So with that in mind, we're hopefully we should be seeing Grit start to produce more troops there. Meanwhile, Snake's actually in a really good position now. He's got his 2 bases down. He's looking pretty comfortable. These 2 Phoenixes are going to wander around, do a little bit of harassment, just generally doing some scouting, picking off some drones here and there, because at this point there's not really much Grit can do about it without pulling his troops together a little bit more. We are going to see the Hydras move up there, but they're going to be the Phoenix is going to be long gone before the Hydras actually turn up there, and that will be the end of that little pressure. So with that, we're going to see some Hydras moving into the front here of Snake's base. Grit getting his troops together to try and deal with this, and it's kind of difficult really for Grit now, because although he's got the Hydras, which are really good, them Zealots just get right up in the face of Hydras, and as long as there's enough of them, they should be able to pretty effectively deal with these Hydras. It's basically they end up tanking a lot more of the damage than they should do, and the Void Rays, unless they get focused down properly, just don't die quick enough, and then the amount of DPS Void Rays can get out is absolutely crazy. So yeah, with that in mind, we've got the 3rd base up and running for Grit now. He might be looking to take a 4th soon, I would hope, maybe, although interestingly enough, this Extractor isn't actually losing health despite not being on creep. I wonder why that's happening. That's interesting. Perhaps to do with the positioning of it. Now, of course, in engagement in the middle there. That was a big bunch of storms there, it looked like, on top of those Hydras. And with most of those going down, that's actually put Grit very much on the back foot here. And Snake's in a much stronger position here, as he can push forward with these Zealots. He's got the 2 Void Rays on top, and with the High Templars in behind, they just absolutely go through units such as Hydralisks. And Grit really just doesn't have the army composition or the troops to deal with this sort of force here. As he just doesn't have enough, didn't have enough in economy until now, and he's still struggling to catch up in that respect. If you look at the supply counts, for example, it's a good 30-odd supply difference there, and that is a little bit difficult there for Grit now. So Snake pushing up at the front here, going to move up into the 2nd base here of Grit. Still doesn't have very many drones on this base, and it does look like we might be seeing some final engagements here out of Snake. As Snake pushes forward, big storms going down on the Roaches there. Another big storm there on the Hydralisk. So many of them dying, and as this is the last of Grit's troops here, he doesn't really have much in anything except in the way of anything except gas. I can't see how Grit's going to be able to recover from this unless he can get some really serious troops out. Although interestingly, the Void Rays can't really get too near, as the Spore Crawlers are going to go through them quite quickly if they're not careful. And it's even DTs in here now for Snake. I did see him build the Dark Shrine before, but I wasn't really sure. Well, hadn't seen any use of the DTs until that point. And I think he's just warped 5 more in, it looks like. Where are those bad boys? There they are, 5 more DTs on their way in, and with this in mind, it does look like we might be seeing some pretty rough times here for Snake, although for Grit, sorry. With his 2nd base falling once again, I think there's 3 Void Rays up there near the 3rd as well. They could be pressuring, although they're not at the moment. Slight mistake there out of Snake, although to be honest, the way that he's on top here, it's looking pretty strong. He's got Grit so much on the back foot, sitting on this 1 base here, and although he doesn't really have enough troops of his own just to push out yet, he's got these foul Zealots at the back, not really doing anything. It does look like he's going to be able to push at the ramp here, although this Archon is going to die now, and this will be the end of this pressure for the time being until Snake can get his troops together once again. Meanwhile, Grit is just going to pressure the second, well, what is now the 2nd base of, sorry, Snake's going to pressure the 2nd base of Grit here. We are going to see the drones pull, but I think we're going to keep focusing those down. Yes, we are. I would quite like to see that base fall to make sure that Grit is absolutely behind, but considering that basically we've got 3 Void Rays here with a bunch of Zealots in support on top of a bunch of units that can't even shoot up, there's really very little Grit can do here now. Snake tripling his supply, and even going for the 2/2 upgrades now, which Grit hasn't yet managed to do either. So with that in mind, we've even got actually Snake looking for a 3rd base down at the bottom here. Now I think this could be a good game. Yep, absolutely. Grit throwing out the GG, and that's game 1 in this best of 3 series out the way. So yeah, quite a cool little game there. Obviously both players just sort of getting back into the swing of things, perhaps not rackering quite as hard as they could have done, but never mind, plenty of pressure out of both players, and all in all, a pretty exciting game. So I'll be back in a few minutes with another game. So thanks all for watching, and GG to both players. Cheers.